and start today's presentation. So welcome everyone. Marci Mearns here. And let me not forget to share my screen. How about that? That would be a great start, right? There we go. Okay, so I want to welcome everyone here to the second part of this little presentation on repertorization using a couple of acute cases. Actually, let me see, just in general, is there anybody here that was here last time? Because I left you guys with a case. If you were here last time and you worked on the case, send us a chat. Let us know. Were you here last time? Yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep an eye out for that. Oh, okay, Tiffany. Yeah, I thought you didn't work on the case. Well, that's all right. We're going to go straight to it then. Just curious if anybody had done anything with it. And yeah. All right. So we're going to do, by way of review, we're simply going to look at the um, principles and concepts that we are using to get to our analysis of these acute cases. All right. And these are in order of importance according to these authors. This is sort of the outline that I utilize to get to these as effectively as possible. The first thing we'll look at, of course, is are there any strange, rare, and peculiar symptoms in relation to the patient that stand out? They have to be indeed outstanding. I also include in that first line if there is an etiology that is readily identifiable. Okay. And then we go down to Dr. Margaret Tyler's set of criteria in their order. And again, these need to be strong in the patient in order for us to use them effectively. We have mentals, then we have climatic, meaning temperature modalities in general. We have food desires and aversions, and then, and only then, do we have the particulars of the complaint, including the location, the modalities, and of course, the concomitants. So that's that. That's our schema that we're going to use with the two cases that I have for you today. And these are a couple of the techniques that we are also going to explore applying. The first one is combining of rubrics. You've probably all seen that by now, but I utilize that technique quite a bit, as well as the use of elimination rubrics for eliminating symptoms. Okay, so those are our guidelines that we're going to work with, and I'm just going to jump into this first case. By the way, if you have questions or comments, I believe most of you have now been liberated and made here. I'm just going to fix the rest of you up here. If you have something that you would like to ask a question and I'm not paying attention, just open up your mic and pull my chain or pop in the chat. Okay. All right. With that, let's go straight to the first case. This is the one we left off with last time. Woman age 50 with hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are really painful. Now, this is a flare-up. I'll just say that. This is not a constitutional case. The treatment here was for this flare-up of the hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are really painful. I can't even walk around. Any increased pressure down there is excruciating, anywhere from sneezing and coughing to being cold. My ear pressure is also affected. This internal pressure buildup is what causes it. My eustachian tubes tighten up with stress and they open up again when I'm able to relax. Lot general, mistrustful and suspicious. She says, I'm not shy. I've seen that people are terrifying. If it involves conversation or arguments, I'd rather not have that. Also, I cannot feel my urethra when I'm urinating. Frequency and urging are not affected. I can get constipated when not smoking. I ask, you quit? She said, I go back and forth. I use it as a crutch for stress and emotional upset. My partner was being a real jerk. The next day it was like bile cut in my stool. That was a few days ago, and then hemorrhoids came out right after. I asked, it all happened after an argument? Mm-hmm. Okay, That's the case. Anything strange, rare, and peculiar, or an etiology? Here's what I decided to take note of. This is a little strange, the tightening of the eustachian tubes. I just had a note saying my internet is unstable. I would not be surprised. If I disappear altogether, I'll come right back. Okay, so for the SRP, I actually noted the tightening of the eustachian tubes with stress. We don't hear about that every day of the week, right? And then, of course, the etiology down here at the bottom of the page, it all happened after an argument. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go to the repertory and see what I did for those first two symptoms. Okay, so here we have on the first clipboard, and already right away, we're going to be doing some combining, right? Symptom that I have for you is mind ailments from anger, right? Obviously, that's the whole point of the case. As well, we have, and I grouped all of these symptoms together: ailments from quarreling, aversion to quarreling, ailments from discords, ailments from anger with indignation. I just took all of those as a group. Now, I am using the sum of symptoms sorted by degrees analysis strategy. The basic strategy that I will always use unless I say something otherwise. You can see down here at the very bottom of my screen, sum of symptoms, sorted degrees. If I wanted to change the strategy, I would go over here in the upper left of my analysis window and I would choose on the little chess piece, I could select something like, small remedies, and I'd get a very different result, wouldn't I? But I like to work with sum of symptoms sorted degrees. Now, what does this mean in terms of these numbers here? It means that we can ignore that first set of numbers. That's just for reference purposes, right? You see that those are ordinals, okay? This set here in the middle, that represents sum of symptoms. Staphysagria appears in two of our symptoms: ailments from anger and the grouped symptom. You see here? Same with cholesynthesis, so on. And that sum of symptoms with two symptoms is going to extend. I'm just going to slide over here so we're all on the same page, all the way out to include up to 70 remedies. Baratrum here also appears in two symptoms. Okay, and then when we get to aconite, it only appears in one. So for all intents and purposes, we can say we've narrowed our analysis down, if we rely on both of those, to 70 medicines. Okay, so sum of symptoms, that's that number in the middle, and then the degrees, that would simply add up the weight of all of these in the various rubrics and give that a number down here. Okay, this sorting by degrees means much less to us in this method than the sum of symptoms. In other words, is the remedy there or not? That's all I really care about. Okay, so there's our etiology in the case, and let's see what I did on the next clipboard. Okay. Now remember what the patient said here about that symptom? She said my eustachian tubes tighten up with stress. Okay. There's no constriction. There's no tightening. The ear and eustachian tubes, that was a tough one. What I did find here, and we can just click on these in order to go look at them, was complaints of the eustachian tubes. And that is, that's actually in Synthesis Adonis, okay? Complaints of the eustachian tubes is there. And then let's go back and see the other one that I used. Oh, okay. Let's look at this. This is from Boninghausen's Therapeutic Pocketbook. Remedies relating to complaints in the inner ear, okay? I just dropped that in here because I wanted to do something to give us a reference point for those eustachian tubes. We'll get into that in a bit, but you'll also notice that this symptom, it says 0 here. That means it has no underlines whatsoever. And I actually gave 3 underlines to this one. I'll go ahead and put that back to a 1 just by highlighting and typing the number 1. There we go. Okay, so we've got one symptom with complaints of the eustachian tubes, and then On my first clipboard, I've got those ailments from anger. Interestingly enough, I've now got only 3 remedies. You see the first 3 here that appear in all 3 of my symptoms. Okay? It's a little soon to restrict ourselves in this way. But just to keep it full disclosure. Okay, let's go back then to the case. So that was our strange, rare, and peculiar and etiology, right? We looked at that. There it is. There's that. So when you get the handout, if you get the handout from the Radar Opus office, you'll have these screenshots. Okay, so let's go down to the next item on the list, and this would be from Dr. Tyler. Symptoms, strong symptoms of the patient themselves, mentals, climatic, and foods. Okay, so here we have the mentals. Okay, and these are number 1, afraid of people in general, mistrustful and suspicious. If it involves conversation or arguments, I'd rather not have that. And I remember all this happened after an argument, right? She also says down here, I can get constipated when not smoking. I use it as a crutch for stress and emotional upset. Now, I stretched things a little bit since we don't have food desires or aversions, but she's back to smoking again now. And I'm taking this desire for smoking and tobacco um, as a symptom in the case, um, along the lines of a food desire and aversion, because it's a very patient has. Okay, so carrying on with things, there's our arrow telling me that I need to go to my next set of clipboards. So let's see what we have here. Okay, these are the mentals. Aversion to all people. Remember, she just does not want people around. Remember, she said she's suspicious, people are untrustworthy, all of the above. Okay, I just took fear of people, company aggravates, aversion. I took all 4 of those and lumped them together in one symptom. Okay, I also took aversion to company and just threw it in there. Why? Just in case. It's not affecting the analysis here because I have it zeroed out. So you'll notice that effectively on clipboard 3 for the mentals for this patient, I only have 1 symptom. You see that? Remember our sum of symptoms, just 1. So if I bring back my first couple of clipboards, I've now got 4 symptoms total. Um, and I would argue the eustachian tubes are a sidebar at this point, so I'm just going to close them down. So here's all the mentals and the etiology. And when we look at it that way, with 3 symptoms, yeah, I've got a lot of choices here. I got 50 remedies included just with the mentals. Okay. And this is the smoking one. Okay. Now, you'll notice that these are grouped with a big A or a letter A in capitals. Let's take a look at these 2 symptoms. We have it's in generalities, just as the food desires and aversions are. There's the desire for smoking. This is very strong for this patient. All right. Also, what I took was tobacco aggravates. All right. Now, I suppose we could have said, well, tobacco ameliorates, right? Because it ameliorates her, what do you call it? Her constipation. I did, however, take tobacco aggravates along with desire for tobacco. She so badly wants to stop smoking. And I took those 2 together, but the way I formed the group, let's take a look at it here. So this kind of a group, when I take both of these symptoms together and I create a group, let's take a look at that. So it's a right click, group or combine rubrics. And what I've done here is I have chosen with common remedies. So what I'm looking here for are the remedies that are common to both the desire as well as the aggravation, desire for tobacco as well as the aggravation from tobacco. Okay. And that's where the capital letter comes in. Normally, if I wanted to group these together, I would take a small letter from up here. But I wanted to see only the remedies that have both of these symptoms. Okay. And so there they are. And there are actually, how many symptoms have I got there? Oh, 22. That's a nice little description for this patient, right? Okay, so I've got this is our mentals, our desires and aversions, and we're looking pretty good. I've really only got two symptoms. You can see there, this first group and the tobacco coming out to two on this. If I bring in the other clipboards, I've now got 5 symptoms total, with staphysagria and nux being the only remedies that go through all of those. All right, but let's get back to the case. Okay, those are what I'm calling the mentals, the climatic, which we don't have any. She doesn't talk at all in this instance about being affected by cold weather, warm weather, or otherwise. And again, we use the tobacco as a mock food desire and aversion, if you will. Okay. Let's go to now, according to Dr. Tyler, the particulars of the complaint. So we have the location and any extensions. We have the modalities and of course, any concomitants. So what's the complaint? Hemorrhoids are really painful, can't even walk. Sneezing and coughing, even being cold aggravate the pain of the hemorrhoids. Okay? Going to go down to the next one that I selected here is cannot feel my urethra when I'm urinating. That's really interesting, isn't it? We definitely should consider that, even though it's not part of the chief complaint, that is a concomitant. Okay, so that's important. And last but not least, we have the bilious stool. In other words, bile coming out in my stool. Again, a concomitant to the chief complaint of those external hemorrhoids. Okay, so let's see. Oh, we're just going to go straight to it, shall we? Here we go. Here are the hemorrhoids. Now, effectively, I've got two symptoms for the hemorrhoids here. I have hemorrhoids protrude. You know, you have internal hemorrhoids and you have external. So it's always important to note. And while I didn't write that in the case, these indeed are external. Well, I think maybe she says that popped out, okay, after the anger. So there's that. Then we have these modalities. Now, what I did is I kind of grouped them all together. You see there's a group here. I have touch aggravates, cough aggravates, and walking aggravates. Those are all fairly small. I don't want to hang my hat on any one of those symptoms, so I just took them all together as a group. And of course, finally, we have hemorrhoids painful. It's a little general, isn't it, for us to really get at the individualized remedy for the patient. So what I did while I included that, I zeroed it out. So I've got the protruding hemorrhoids, and then I've got those modalities of touch, coughing, and walking all aggravate. The next clipboard we have, let's go to the numbness in the urethra. You know, there's not much here. Look at this. What a tiny rubric this is. Urethra numbness. I had to dig around a little bit, didn't I? Urethra insensitive to the flow of urine. And bladder urination unconscious, urethra insensible. Is that in the same repertoire as the other two? Is that? Yes, that's also in synthesis Adonis. Oh, okay. And you'll see that here is the cross-reference, urethra insensitive to the flow of urine. Okay, so I used those, and what I did, there's the numbness. Did I group all three of those together? No, I didn't. You know, I could have. And I probably should have, right? But we're going to leave it at that for now. Okay. And last but not least, there's that bile. You remember she said they had the argument. The next day she had bile in her stool, and then that's when the hemorrhoids came out. So we have bilious diarrhea and a bilious or a bile-filled stool. Okay. Now, again, I could probably combine the two of these. I did not choose to do so. But if I just take those last two, yeah, so I've actually got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symptoms. I don't have any one remedy that comes through all those, but I have some great possibilities here, don't? Okay, so we're getting actually down to time to prescribe here. So before I reveal what I did for this patient, I'm just curious if anybody wants to share an opinion, a suggestion. Here's our etiology. Here's our mentals. Here's our tobacco. Here's the chief complaint. I'm just bringing these on one at a time. I left the eustachian tubes out. So we have 1, 3, 4, 5. That one is the modalities of the chief complaint. And then, of course, we've got the numbness in the urethra. So does anybody want to poke in the chat or unmute, stick their neck out 9 miles here? What are we going to do? Anybody? I'll even go ahead and put the eustachian complaints of the eustachian tube. Remember this one, ear complaints of the eustachian tube? Okay, if that helps you. All right, this is pretty straightforward, really. Oh, somebody's feeling brave today. Lori, curious about the sensation of the stool, feeling bile filled. Was it burning? Any sense of it? It was the appearance of the bile. Let's see what she said, Lori. That's a great question. Let's clarify. The next day it was like bile coming out in my stool. Okay. And I want to say that this woman is very, how would I say it, livery. She's always got liver stuff going on and gets irritated easily and so on and so forth. So it was actually, she didn't give me any other information and I didn't ask for anything else either. I was actually most intrigued by the urethra and the eustachian tubes for this case. So great question, Lori. But no, that's it. It's simply the bilious stool. Is that this one? Yeah, bilious stool. Meaning stool bilious, same thing. Okay, there it is. Oh, I could have taken that one, and then this is the other one that I took, I think. Bilious diarrhea. Okay. Oh, accompanied by hemorrhoids. Bromine, who knew? Okay. Guess I missed the mark, huh? Okay, so let's do it. Let's go out on a big limb and let's say that, I'll see what I said here. How did I do this? Particulars of the complaint, we got all that. Oh, now I'm going to go on and explain to you every little thing that I did. Here you can see I combined rubrics on clipboard 1. I'm going to go back to these in a minute. I just want to jump straight to the remedy here, which was Nux vomica. Okay? Not rocket science, right? How do you bring up the combined display of the multiple clipboards? Great question. Okay, I'm using a Mac. If you are using a Mac, what you're going to do is the following. I'm going to go over here, you see on the far left where I have the clipboard icons, and I'm going to start with the first clipboard, and I'm just going to click on it, regular mouse click, and you see that a single clipboard shows. Now, on the Mac, I'm going to take my pointer finger, since I'm right-handed, and I'm going to press and hold the Command key. It's the one just next to the space bar. And as long as I keep my finger on the Command key, I can then go click on another clipboard and it turns on. Okay? If I click on that same clipboard again, still with my finger on Command, it goes off. So keeping my finger on the Command key allows me to turn the clipboards off and on. Okay? So you can do all sorts of jazzy combining here, combining and uncombining. If you are on a Windows, you are going to want to try a couple of those keys and see which one it is for you. You simply hold your finger on that key, and then you can click around and get any combination of clipboards that you would like. Okay? It's the same technique that we use when we want to select multiple symptoms. So here, for me to create a, let's go to this clipboard here. And let's say I want to combine just this one and this one down here. Notice if I'm not holding my finger on the key, I can't select two of them. But if I've selected numbness, for example, and then I press and hold the command key, I can select them both. They're now both selected because I had my finger there. Now I can right click and get my group or combine menu. And I'm going to choose a letter from a small letter that I've not already used. And those are now combined. You see, they have the letter O in front of them. Okay. So yeah, that's a great question, and it's one of your biggest skills. So Windows users, PC users, figure out which key that is, make a note, and just use it to select multiple things. Okay, so we gave Nux, and let's just see what happened with this patient. All right. Next day, much less pain. I feel a little calmer. The anger is settling. So she took a 30C again that morning. Stool soft and unformed. Before it was soft with a kind of diarrhea. Okay, so her stool is coming back a bit to normal. You can see here that this is taking a while. The third day, tissue is still external, but there's no pain. In other words, the hemorrhoidal tissue has not gone back in, but she's emotionally better. And because I've been working with this patient for many, many years, and she knows a lot about what she's very in tune with herself, I just had her continue the 30C once or twice a day for the next few days. And that was the end of that. Okay. So a relatively simple case of protruding hemorrhoids after an angry outburst. Okay. Now, this last slide that I have for you, I'm calling this an affinities check. And again, I'm trying to include some things here that you can try out on your own when you're working on your cases. So let's go back to the repertorization for just a minute. And on this very last clipboard down here, this is what I'm calling that affinities check. Now, remember, when you double click on any of these rubrics, they will open up in the book itself. So these come from, is this Boning House? Yeah, from the Therapeutic Pocket book. Urethra. So what I did is I basically looked at the organs affected. Okay. If you're not sure how to do that, when you get into Boninghausen's Therapeutic Pocketbook, it's laid out a little bit differently. But up here where we have the binoculars, you're going to get your navigation window. And in this instance, just open up systemic. And this is going to be the urinary tract, the viscera, and here's the urethra. Boom. You see how simple that was? It's simple when you know what you're doing, right? But that's the point of these sessions. All right, so we have the urethra covered. We have the rectum covered. Again, these are all from Boninghausen's Therapeutic Pocketbook. Internal ear, okay? This is where I was trying to cover the business with her eustachian tubes tightening. I wanted to make sure that whatever remedy at the end of the day has an affinity for the inner ear. And indeed, there's our Nux vomica in a grade 2, as we would expect, right? Now, you remember she said everything is worse from when there's pressure down there. So here's another modalities. Again, this is in Therapeutic Pocketbook. Pressing, external pressure, aggravates, and then finally we have, oh, worse from cold, because she did say that, worse from cold. Okay, so again, this last clipboard, let's take a look now. If I just use those simple modalities and simple anatomical systems, 55555, I've got right here in Boninghausen's Therapeutic Pocketbook, I'm limited to just 39 remedies for this patient. So I could even do it this way and then just say, well, I know I have ailments from anger. What remedies should I consider? Okay. And then I could maybe throw in, oh, that urethra is so fascinating. Let's throw in the numbness in the urethra. And I've narrowed myself down now to Nux, mercury, and alumina. So I want to read those remedies. All right. So that's that case. Now, because we're at the 30-minute mark, let me take a look and see if there's anything that we've not discussed here. Let's go back. Okay, combining rubrics. We all know how to combine rubrics now, right? I've shown you that. So in other words, the idea is we don't want to overrepresent a symptom. So by combining them together, they become as one, and you get that small letter. So that's what's being done here on clipboard 1. On clipboard 2, I said I gave 3 underlines for the SRP. And then this is a Bonninghausen symptom for the location in the inner ear, even though I zeroed it out. Let's see, clipboard 3. One symptom set to 0. On clipboard 3 here, one symptom is set to 0 underlines. Yeah, because I didn't think it was all that meaningful, but I kind of wanted it in there, so I just set it to 0, and it doesn't affect the repertorization. This is the group showing the common remedies, only those that desire tobacco and are aggravated by tobacco. So you saw that that was a special kind of a grouping. Okay. On the next clipboard, I combined those modalities because they were all fairly small. And I also set painful hemorrhoids to 0 because I didn't want, everybody's got, if you got hemorrhoids, it's painful, right? Some of us know that. We were more interested in the fact that they were external, protruding, and also the modalities. Next clipboard, we could combine these into one, and indeed we saw how to do that. And finally, we could also group these into one symptom. All right. Yeah. So Nux vomica 30, we saw how she did. There's your affinities check, and that takes care of the woman age 50 with hemorrhoids. All right. Any questions or comments before we go on to the next case? I think we're going to get them both done here today. Okay. Wonderful. I'm going to stop my share for just a moment while I load up the other case. Oops, I don't want to quit my radar. I just want to do this. Hold on. And again, I always make up a PDF of the notes. Let's see, this next one is the back spasms. Okay. I always make a PDF of the notes and send them off to orders@radaropus.us. So if you want those, you can get them there. You can also reach out to me. Tiffany, I think you got them from me the last time. No, I knew I recognized that name. So yeah, you can always reach out to me directly and I can. Yeah, you did. Okay. Yeah, so they're always available and hopefully those are helpful. That way, you don't have to try and take tons of notes here. You can just look at what we've done. Okay, so we're back. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Whoopsie. Uh-oh. I've already given away the store there. Not really. Okay, we're going to go on and I'll bring out this first case for you. Second case, I should say. Woman age 64, back spasms. She says, I have to be really careful how I move. Yesterday, my whole sacrum went into spasms. I had to call a friend because I couldn't move. I can't put any weight on the left leg. I can't extend it, can't turn. It's a sharp shooting pain that goes up my back from the sacrum. The motion of standing up is painful. Once I stand up, there's an incredible spasm, like an electrical shock. If I turn and twist, it drops me to my knees. It goes from the right side to the left side or back and forth. She says the x-rays look fine. There's no arthritis, no bulging discs, and I'm constipated. Okay, so what happened? She says this woman works as at the pet shelter. What's that called? Not homeless people, homeless pets. Rescue. A homeless fellow broke into the animal rescue site. He was lying there in the dark when I went in. He rose up out of the dark. It really scared me. It was such a violation. Apparently, he had broken in 3 times and had been there lying in wait, being secretive and spooky. It unnerved me that he would be there doing these things. What else? Well, I wake in the night and I can't breathe out unless I open my mouth. I can take a breath in, but not out. It feels like there's a flap back there, like something has closed or blocked it. A flap comes down and closes in the back of my throat, like something drops and prevents me from breathing out. So that's essentially the case. Etiology, what stands out? Okay, the incredible spasm and electric shock stood out to me. I mean, we get reports of electric shock kinds of things all the time, but this is pretty extreme, right? What happened? Here's the etiology. It really scared me. It was such a violation. It unnerved me. So this whole thing came about after she had the scare with the guy jumping up and scaring her, coming out of the dark at the rescue shelter. And then there's this funny thing that seems completely unrelated. But she reports that this has been going on now for a bit, that she'll wake up. Actually, I didn't put this part in, but she wakes up all of a sudden and she can breathe in, but not feels like if if the remedy that we choose might also include that very odd thing, right? So in this case, apparently we're going to go straight to the book or to the software, I should say. All right. So first thing I did is I just took my etiology. Ailments from mental shock, ailments from fright, and sudden fear. I just grouped them all together and I've got effectively one symptom. Now, I want to, if you're not aware, what is this little thing? Here's a little thing I don't want from Zoom. Oh, you can't even see, it's right in the way. Down here in the lower left-hand corner of my screen, it says 3 symptoms, 200, is that 69? 269 remedies. Yes, there are 3 symptoms, but the program is treating them as if they are one. And if I were to drag my slider out here, I'm going to go all the way to, should be to 269 medicines to be considered for this ailments from shock. Not very good so far, right? There's our etiology, but it's not getting very far. I do want to point out something, however, while we're looking at this list of remedies. Let's look at this. You see here where there's an asterisk next to acute, and there's also an asterisk here for the Loganaceae family, meaning that the remedies of the Loganaceae, actually those are all of our rubrics. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one, ailments from mental shock, just so we can see that in context. Because I use the Adonis and I have the full repertory turned on, I'm seeing not just individual remedies, but also families or groups of remedies. And so it included there are acute remedies of the acute miasm. The Loganaceae you see are included. There are other groups like the carbons, air element, the Magnoliidae, the magnolias, the Papaveraceae, Ranunculaceae. Okay, so wherever you see that asterisk, that means that a whole family of remedies could be considered for that symptom. If you want to turn that off, I think right up here where it says full repertory, you can select here where it says only remedies, and it'll remove those families for you. I kind of like them, so I leave them in. You can also select only families. You know, if you don't want to put the remedies, you can just see just the families that have an affinity for mental ailments from mental shock. But normally we're always going to keep this set on full repertory. Okay. So there we go. So there's our etiology. And now what have I got on this next clipboard? Time will tell, won't it? Oh, yeah. That whole electric shock thing. It's so outstanding, is it not? Okay. General's electric shock. Electric like shock. Here it is. That's exactly what is happening. And the nice thing about this is that the physical shock, electric like shock, is a mirror or mirrors the mental emotional state, which is also shock. And that's why this needs to be included. Um, I want to show you some other symptoms. These are from a different repertory, right? Oh dear, my internet. Let's try convulsions and spasms. She's got that spasm business. Okay, this is in FATEC, convulsions and spasms. If I'm going to choose a small remedy, I would do well to just look right in here for convulsions, spasms, jerks, twitching. Here's jerks. I think I also included that. Okay, so I really wanted to cover everything having to do with that shock feeling. And I grouped general shock and electric like shock together. And then I grouped all of these smaller kinds of shocks that come from FATEC together. Okay, so far, here's where we are. We have the shock, we have the etiology of the mental, emotional shock. And what have I got here? Let's have a look. Oh, I'm going to leave that. That's that throat thing. Yeah, it is odd. Let's look at the throat thing now. We'll go ahead and do what we can with that. Remember she said it felt like there was a flap back there? Now, the way I find these symptoms, if I don't know where to look, which is quite often, most of us have that issue, I know about throat sensation of a lump, but flap, I'm going to have a little more trouble with. So I'm probably going to go to my search. You remember, I like my advanced search, and I'm probably just going to go flap and throat. Okay. And I'm probably going to search in all my favorites. So this might be how I did that. Oh, sensation of a valve or a flap in the throat. Isn't that interesting? Too small to be of any use. I probably need to search in some other repertories. Anywho, here's the clipboard that I came up with. Throat, mouth, throat, and gullet, plug, lump, etc. Let's look at that one. Where did that come from? Oh, it's Boger Boninghausen. I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was a pretty good thing. It feels like there's a plug or a lump, right? That's what she's saying. But here's the interesting part. Here's sensation as if something is hanging in the throat. That's exactly what she said. Like skin hanging loose in the throat, like a thread. Okay. So we got a lot of choices here. It's not really mucus, is it? But we're in the ballpark with this kind of stuff. And then there's this interesting one. Respiration difficult felt in the throat. That's her exact problem. She has trouble breathing out. She can breathe in, and then the flap gets, and then she can't breathe out. Again, symptom too small to use in our final repertorization, but we don't want to overlook it, so I've got it here. All right. So in fact, for all that stuff, problems in the throat, I'm only using one symptom. The rest of them are zeroed out. I have the sensation of a lump in the throat. Okay. There's the lump in the throat, the shocks, etiology, and out of, looks like I've got 31 remedies with 4 symptoms. Yeah, how many symptoms do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 symptoms and I've narrowed it down to 31 remedies. Okay. And we haven't done anything with the back, have we? So let's get back over there and have a look-see. Okay. Oh, I just gave you 2 on that one. Okay, so there's the screenshot with the etiology as well as the shock in general. in relation to the patient, strange, rare, and peculiar. So we went into this with the flap. There's the flap. And I only use sensation of a lump. The rest of this is just there for informational purposes, okay? Now, our next cut of information would be for the patient herself. Remember the mentals, then the climatic, the temperatures, if there are any, and food desires and aversion. I've got nothing. Okay. We had that one, the only mental we had was the etiology, and we've heard that. So the rest of that is the particulars of the complaint. All right. And she really gives us some pretty good information. She said she had spasms in the sacrum. She has a sharp shooting pain. I'm not doing the modalities. I'm just looking at the complaint. Where is it? What kind of pain it is? Oh, and then she threw in, I'm constipated. So I said, okay, fine. I'll go with the constipation as well. Here we go. Let's look at this in the software. What that's clipboard for? Back spasms. That's what she's got. Pain in the sacral region. Now, why didn't I use spasms in the sacral region? Because there aren't any. Okay? That was a big problem. She said she had stitching pains. She said in the lumbosacral region, there's pain. There's stitching pain in the lumbosacral, but there is no spasms in the sacral region. So I had to take the spasms, the pains in the sacral, and then I took the constipation. And I took the giant constipation. Okay. I think there is a constipation accompanied by back, pain in the back. Okay. Why did I not use that symptom? It's useless. Kind of thought about giving her sulfur. She curses a lot, but I didn't. It's too small. Okay. So again, what we had to do here to get around that was to just take the back spasms, sacral region pain, and then, yeah, I took the big rectum constipation. Why not? I'd like to see some strong constipation in this remedy. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, so that's that, clipboard 4. Now what? Now for the good stuff. Here are the modalities of that back pain. So I had the back pain itself, and then I'm going to do my modalities. It goes up my back from the sacrum. That's an extension, right? Back pain extending up. Beautiful. We like that. Because very often, if you've been in this for any length of time, you know that very often the back pains will extend down the legs, for example. In this case, it's pain extending up the back. And then she says, if I turn and twist, it drops me to my knees. So the back pain is also affected by turning, twisting. And then finally, we have something that goes from the right to the left side of the back or back and forth. It's true that she mentioned at one point it was her left leg, but as I went through all the notes, I had to kind of trim this down. It actually, sometimes she has it on the right, sometimes she has it on the left, or it'll go from the right, then to the left, or it'll alternate sides. Yeah, so let's see what we want to do about that in terms of the modalities. So there's the back pain itself, and then the modalities would be here. Oh, bending. Okay, bending and turning sideways, turning aggravates. Now, why are these in the generals chapter? Marci, why did you do that? I had to go back and take a look at this because the symptoms in the back chapter, if you go look for worse bending, worse twisting, worse turning, that kind of thing, you're not going to get anything useful. They're very small rubrics. So I went to generalities and I combined all these together. So this is merely one symptom, worse with the twisting and turning. There's the back pain extending upward. Let's look at that. Okay. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? because it's a nice size rubric. Remember, my favorite sizes of rubrics are 40, 50, up to 100. And, as soon as I say there's a favorite, there'll be something else that works or that I'm using differently. But by and large, this is a nice size rubric. Remember, we're just trying to treat the patient with the back spasms. We're not trying to change her entire life. Not a prescription, in other words. And I'm pressing key. So I have the turning, I have the extension, and finally here I have the alternating sides. Remember she said it goes from right to left? Complaints of back, right side extending to left. That's kind of tiny, isn't it? Kind of useless. And then there's this one. Let's go look at this because you may not be aware. This is emphatic. Sometimes when we hear the word metastasis, we usually immediately associate that with a cancer that's metastasized, if you will. But metastasis in our homeopathic books refers to something that moves from one place to another. That's logical. So I love FATAC. You could probably do most of these cases just with FATAC. This is the symptom then for what the patient describes as it goes from one side to the other. Alternating effects, alternating states, alternating sides, metastasis. So it jumps around or moves around. Let's see what this one says, metastasis. Oh, it's too small to be of any use, but alternating effects is kind of nice, isn't it? Yeah, so I wanted you to see that. I took that one and of course I combined it with everything else for the jumping back and forth. And here, of course, we would expect lacuninum, lycopodium, all the usual suspects are here, aren't there? Okay, for the going from side to side. So here are those modalities. Huh, look at that. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. And yeah, so there's my arrow. Let's see what we got. Okay, there they are. I'm not sure what's coming next. Oh, what's coming next is the prescription. So, I'm going to go through these clipboards again. I'm going to start with the etiology, and I'm going to slowly kind of turn these on. Now, they're not all going to fit on the screen. Well, if I fold them up, you see there's a little arrow. I can fold that up. These are still here. I'm going to go about, I want you guys to take a look at these and think about what you want to do for this patient. So far, it says I've got 7 total symptoms. Looks like 7 symptoms. And how many remedies are covering 7 symptoms? Oh, we're doing pretty well. We're down to just 17 remedies to choose from. Oh, what do we got? Anybody having a thought here? Anybody see anything interesting? Let's go to this one. What is that one? Extending upward. Like that one so much that I'm actually going to use it as an eliminative rubric. I'm going to say, if you're not in here, I don't want to see you. Remember how you do that? You right click and you qualification, eliminative. In other words, I love that for the patient so much that I want to only see remedies in my analysis that belong to that back pain extending upward. We are getting very close, people. We must make a decision now for the patient, and I'm going to suggest that you think outside the box. And who wants to venture a guess here as to what I did for her? I've got 3 remedies in the top position there, right next to Nux and Arsenicum, of course. We've got Lachesis, Sepia, and Cocculus. Interesting. So what do we do? Anybody? Okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I was hoping someone, I got to say, this is not, oh, good. Someone's being brave. Cocculus has emotional disturbance. Lori, Emotion. What? I can't read your whole chat, but Lori, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Look at the mentals of cocculus. Where's cocculus? Look at it right here. Shock, electric like shock, shocks through the body. I have it zeroed out. Look, paroxysm, repeated paroxysms. Cocculus, it's all there. Let's look here. Where's cocculus? There it is. Ailments from fright, sudden fear, aggravation from emotional disturbance. Yeah. Who knew? And then where's our cocculus here? Look at cocculus here. The metastases in these small rubrics, complaints, right side extending to left side. But the best is yet to come. Look here. Oops, where's that flap in the throat thing? Here we go. Where's our cocculus here? Okay, now remember, I have a lot of these zeroed out. If I, oops, C-O-C-C, oops. There's cocculus. All right. Sensation as if something were hanging in the throat. Respiration difficult felt in the throat. Cocculus. Okay. So I gave her cocculus. Worky says paralytic pain in the small of the back. Yeah, it's all there, right? Now, I would never have come to that remedy just like grabbing off, I probably would have given her Nux or something. But a little bit of effort here, and let's see what happened. Yeah, so I gave cocculus. We're going to go down here and we're going to see. Yeah, cocculus 30, and then eventually we went to a 200. Let's see. Cocculus 30. After a week, here she says, I'm improving every day, but still have stiffness and pain in the right sacrum area. It tried to move back to the left, and I get twinges on the left side occasionally, 2 to 3 times a day. Took a Cocculus 30C Wednesday morning and no remedy since then. Here now she says peristalsis is coming back slowly, and I had 3 BMs today so far. Well, she never told me peristalsis was non-existent, right? She just said she was constipated. Then, of course, she knows this lady studied homeopathy. Nothing like a good BM report to make a homeopath's day. Absolutely. So correct. And then further, after about a month, we went up to a 200. And then she said she got a major return of old symptoms. One morning, I was so dizzy, I almost fell out of bed. Kind of reminds you of cocculus, doesn't it? That whole left side of the head felt huge. That's an old symptom that actually I think what she came with originally was a feeling of fullness on the left side of her head. Fullness came back and then it disappeared. Still struggling with constipation from time to time. Okay. So that's the case. And I gave you sort of a snapshot of everything. Now on this one, I believe I also pulled up some things of interest for you. Oh, I looked then at the constipation of cocculus. Look here, we have slow digestion, periodical constipation, stool remains long in the rectum. But this is the main thing. Remember, she said peristalsis is coming back, meaning it was gone for a while. And this is what's so fascinating. Spasms in the throat and post-diphtheric paralysis in the throat. Diphtheria is when you get an extra membrane. We don't see diphtheria today, but that's a thing, right? So I thought it was really interesting that our cocculus is here for post-diphtheric paralysis. I'll bet you that in this woman's family, there was diphtheria at some point along the way. Okay. So questions and comments. Would you have just given 1 dose of 200C? I didn't want to start with the 200. Why? Couple of reasons. One, I wasn't as confident as I might sound right now with this remedy because I'd never given it in a situation like this before. And the patient was already like practically crippled. She was having to call people. I think I cut out the part where she said she was taking ibuprofens and all kinds of things. I just didn't want to give her a 200 and have her, you know, end up on a stretcher. So I started with the 30 to see if we could touch it. And it did. It actually worked for a while, and it went back and pulled up that old um, symptom that treating earlier, which was that I think she thought she had I remember she said she thought she had a brain tumor or something. So, yeah. So that is the second of the cases. And oh, here you have those are those interesting symptoms that I pulled out as confirmatories. And I want to give you a reminder of how to get a hold of us, how to get a hold of radaropus.us. That's the web address that you're going to use. And then if you want to find me, I do one-on-ones and little groups, and when I get them, I post these videos there as well, so you can find those. Yeah, I'm really, really grateful for everyone. Listen, I'll stick around because this was supposed to go till 5:15. We wrapped it up more quickly. If you guys would like to ask questions, please feel free to do so. I'll stick around for a few minutes. I'm going to stop my share here and see if anybody is still here. If you want to unmute and ask a question, feel free to do so. Again, I'm here to be of service with any and all questions you might have.
Marci,
Yes.
I would love to understand why you use the tobacco aggravates. I didn't understand why you use that instead of it ameliorates with the constipation.
I got to say that when I looked at that, yes, hey, John, got to go. Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Tiffany, I got to say that I don't know why I used it that way either. For all I know, I made a mistake. Now, she said that oh, wait. Okay, let's go back to the case. It's a really good point. Oh, but that's not this patient. That's this other one.
No.
All
Yeah,
right, so let's go back to her. Let's go back to her. I can get constipated when not smoking. So in other words, the tobacco ameliorates the constipation.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. All right, so I'll tell you what, Tiffany, let's do this. Let's go to, look, here's how lazy I am. I'm thinking, oh, it's in generals, isn't it? Generalities. My computer is just so hot. Tobacco. Aggravate. Oops, amel. That's what I want. Tobacco amel. She doesn't have an aversion. She has a desire for it. Yeah, you know what? I honestly cannot tell you.
Okay.
It aggravates everything else she has.
Oh, is that because you didn't include that information in the case? Is probably why
I think that's why it is, because as I reflect on this now, I'm going, yeah, because, I mean, one of this woman's main complaints, apart from this hemorrhoid thing, is this the hemorrhoid case? Yeah. She's had so many upper respiratory symptoms. Because look over here, Nux actually has a version. Yeah, I wish I could answer that better, and perhaps that was not a great grab on that symptom. So,
okay.
duly noted. You got
the bit. I just was curious. Okay.
But here's the point, Tiffany and everyone else. The technique that I use, let's take this clipboard right here. Let's take all these.
Okay, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Let me go back to sharing. Let me go back here. All right. Let's just take all three of these. And let's ungroup them. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup them. Okay, and remember they were grouped with a small letter.
Yeah.
And this one here, from how to combine in that other way. I only want the symptoms that belong to both of. There are, of course, many ways. Sorry, my thing. It's so hot here that the computer is just going flaky. There we go. I'm going to take both of those, combine them to a single rubric, group or combine, with common remedies. In other words, when all is said and done, I will only have the remedies that belong to those two. There they are. That's the technique. It can be useful. In this instance, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that, but you see the technique. And of course, if I ever want to ungroup things, and that's why I use grouping or combining, because I can actually ungroup them. There we go. Ungroup. Ungroup. Voila. There, and they're ungrouped. I didn't lose anything. Okay, I'm cutting out a lot. Yeah. I think it's time to go. I think the universe is telling us we've done all we can do in this heat. I thank you all for joining today, and yeah, I wish you all a wonderful summer. If anyone wants to get on board with me, come find me over there at Marci Burns. And yeah, I think I may be starting some small groups as well. So stay in touch. Best of luck to everyone. We really appreciate you. There are some things on sale at radaropus.us. So go check those out as well. Okay. Thank you. Till next. Bye-bye.